So oftentimes when people think about their insomnia disorder, they can kind of think of a million different reasons why they're struggling with insomnia. So is it their diet? Is it their exercise? Is it their stress levels? Is something just fundamentally broken in their brain? Is it another medical condition? There's just so many possible reasons why they think they might have insomnia, which creates a sense of frustration and confusion and sense of hopelessness. But what if I told you that when it comes to behavioral sleep medicine and the gold standard treatment of chronic insomnia, cognitive behavioral therapy, there's really only three perpetuating factors that clinicians think about when it comes to dealing with sleep problems. And all of the strategies are meant to target specifically those three perpetuating slash maintaining causes. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what those three causes are. And if you don't know me, my name is Dr. Parky. I'm a behavioral sleep medicine specialist. I was trained as a postdoctoral fellow at Stanford Sleep Health and Insomnia program. So I've had a lot of experience treating and providing sleep education for faculty and staff, as well as, of course, treating patients. And I also happen to be author of the Insomnia Paradox, which is a self-help book. And I'll throw it in the description below if you're interested in checking it out more. But let's get on with the video. All right, so the three main causes of chronic insomnia, I'm not going to drip feed you the information for retention or anything like that. The three main causes are low sleep drive, circadian rhythm dysfunction, as well as hyperarousal. That's it. Those are the three things that we focus on as behavioral sleep medicine specialists to be able to treat insomnia and do it actually extremely effectively. All right, so let's talk about what each of these means. So first of all, low sleep drive. What is low sleep drive? So let's start with sleep drive. Sleep drive is our appetite for sleep. And it's kind of like our hunger, where the longer that we don't eat, the hungrier we get. The longer that we are awake and active throughout the day, the more sleep drive or appetite for sleep we build up. It's kind of like, to provide a balloon analogy as well, it's like kind of blowing air into the balloon and having it get bigger and bigger and bigger so that you can expend all that air for a really nice consolidated night's rest. Now, in the context of insomnia, one of the reasons why people with insomnia tend to have a low sleep drive, even though they kind of feel like I'm not really getting much sleep, is that they engage in behaviors that are very reasonable on paper, but maintain a reduced appetite for sleep. So things like spending a lot of time in bed makes perfect sense because it's taking them an hour to fall asleep and they're up in the middle of the night for a couple hours. Makes perfect sense that they're spending more time in bed, but what's going to happen is that they're going to have less time when they wake up until the next night to build up that appetite for sleep, which is going to create this sort of perpetual cycle of wanting to sleep, but not having the appetite to sleep. Okay, the second cause of chronic insomnia is poor circadian input. And what I mean by that is that our circadian clock is kind of the 24-hour clock, or it kind of follows the general 24 hours that kind of follows the sort of movements of the earth around the sun. And it tells us when we should be awake and when we should be asleep and hungry and, all that jazz. And the important part of the circadian rhythm is that our internal clock, that circadian rhythm, is not always perfectly mapped up to the clock on the wall, such that if we notice that certain inputs are not there, like if we're not getting up at the same time, if we're not getting sunlight in the morning, our circadian rhythm gets dysregulated. And this can happen in the context of one of the things that you might be familiar with, jet lag. So if we travel to a different time zone, our internal circadian clock is no longer well mapped to the clock on the wall. And you know what happens when we experience jet lag. We feel groggy and tired. It feels weird. We just feel kind of like awkward the entire time, and it takes a while for our body to adjust. And the same thing can happen even when we're not traveling. So in the context of insomnia, sometimes we're going to be trying to sleep in or go to bed early to try and get some more sleep. And that variability, and when we wake up and go to bed all the time, can create similar symptoms of jet lag. And that is something that we need to target in the context of insomnia treatment. Okay, so let's say you have, a strong sleep drive, you have lots of hunger for sleep, and you have set a pretty nice circadian rhythm. You always wake up at the same time, you're getting your sunlight, you have good inputs, still can't sleep. Why? The answer in this case is the third factor, hyperarousal. And hyperarousal is a catch-all term where essentially our fight or flight slash physiological response of stress seems to always be activated, or activated in particular during the nighttime. Because a person with insomnia is going to be worried about their sleep. They're going to be worried about what would happen if they went to bed, that they can't sleep, and that tomorrow is going to be horrible. So they have all these scary thoughts. They have sort of this conditioned learned association with the bed and wake. They're tossing and turning. All of those things make it hard for us to sleep, even in the context of these other pieces. So it's important for us to be able to find some ways to reduce sort of our hyperarousal, reduce the fight or flight system to allow us to have the three factors that would lead to excellent sleep: high sleep drive, a strong circadian input, and sort of a relaxed body and mind to allow for the sleep to unfold. So those are the three causes of chronic insomnia: low sleep drive, poor input into the circadian rhythm, and hyperarousal. And in other videos, I'm going to start talking about some of the strategies that you can engage in order to be able to optimize all three to be able to escape the insomnia trap. Thanks for watching as always. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.